Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm doing YouTube video. Yugioh Soul More Stories. Ternimal World. The creatures of the forest.
Want to get rich? We know a place you can go, but there's a story you need to hear first. In 1988, the SCP Foundation's automated econometric anomaly prediction systems picked up some unusual activity in Huaxi Village, People's Republic of China, following Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms. Compared to the rest of the country, Huaxi Village in particular was experiencing extremely rapid earnings growth and an increase in investments. This prompted additional investigation of the village. Foundation agents sent to the area were surprised by what they found there. For once, the surprise was not unpleasant. Huaxi Village was an unusually peaceful place, one of economic prosperity mixed with equality, where all of the people worked together and everyone's needs were met. The village was operating in complete social cohesion and perfect harmony. That alone would not have been enough to keep the Foundation there, but there was something else that kept their eye.
Vinny? Is the sound man okay? My voice is the conductor of my life. When your voice brings you joy. And what do you get some? You're the best.
Not have been enough to keep the Foundation there, but there was something else that kept their eyes on Huaxi Village. Something strange. Whenever they went, whoever they spoke to, Foundation personnel kept hearing about this same man over and over again. Whoever he was beloved by the entire. To date, SCP-3078 has claimed the lives of 3,576 civilians and 2 members of Foundation personnel. Discovered in the untamed Wild West of the Internet, SCP-3078 is a self-replicating image that can appear without warning on message boards and social media platforms capable of hosting media. In many ways, it is like any other meme that is proliferated through the World Wide Web, with a slight distinction that it doesn't originate from a human source. For every single instance of SCP-3078, an anonymous profile is created simultaneously with a post on the corresponding platform. While any of these profiles cannot be traced back to any existing IP address, there is a predictable quality as to when new ones will spawn, though not Every hour that an instance of SCP-3078 exists on the internet, a duplicate of the meme will emerge on another website posted under a new profile. The profiles associated with SCP-3078 share a similar pattern in that the given username will invariably be a random arrangement of the numbers 69 and 420. If these references fly over your head, you are obviously new to the internet. The most that you need to know is that these numbers are automatically funny, and the more that they are used as punchlines, the funnier they become. In much the same way as the poop posts they are connected to, 69 and 420 are memes designed to induce outrageous laughter in those who witness them. When tags and hashtags are applied to SCP-3078 instances, the number 420 is often included, as well as the phrases "don't do weed" and "meme." These are more coded phrases from the internet, meant to evoke universal comedy. The phrase "don't do weed" in particular hints at a connection to a group of interest whom we will soon discuss. Back to the duplication and generation of the images, there have been theories that SCP-3078 is connected in some way to the activities of a group of interest known as Gamers Against Weed. The radical faction of video gaming enthusiasts is known for proliferating the dankest of anomalies throughout the world, and several of these have been contained by the SCP Foundation. You are probably familiar with SCP-3108, the nerfing gun, which reduces any object or living organism to a worse state. That powerful weapon is a Gamers Against Weed original, and it is hardly the only SCP that these rising upstarts have seemingly brought into existence. Most of the other SCPs created by Gamers Against Weed interact with media and images. This includes SCP-2293, which modified pre-existing stories to include a new line of dialogue.
Get YouTube music premium with this toggle thingy. Try 1 month free.
Dialogue at pivotal moments. The line of dialogue in question will always be, "Did you know that world-renowned author Stephen King was once hit by a car?" Just something to consider. While initially meant as a harmless joke between members of the group of interest, the mimetic phrase quickly spiraled out of the gamer's control and began to spread to every corner of the media landscape. Incidents such as these prove that Gamers Against Weed has a track record of creating anomalies that may appear harmless, but cause untold destruction in their wake. They may not be an outwardly malicious group of interest, but the problems they cause have serious consequences. If the cognito-hazardous poop posts of SCP-3078 do originate from within the organization, it is believed that the image was created by a member whose online handle is HarmPit. Regardless, the post and its duplicates have long since taken on a life of their own. This duplication process that occurs hourly while an instance of SCP-3078 exists is what is known as an SCP-3078 convert event. In order to prevent the spread of SCP-3078 images, every instance of the post must be deleted to prevent a convert event from occurring. For this purpose, a team of Foundation hackers and highly trained meme experts have been assigned to patrol the web for any instances of SCP-3078 and remove them immediately. While this unnamed unit is crucial to saving lives and keeping your browsers safe from cognito-hazardous material, it would not be accurate to refer to them as a mobile task force, since they are entirely sedentary in their work. But even without a proper designation, our anomalous hackers have been outfitted with the latest processing systems and can also accomplish all their intended tasks from the comfort of their top-of-the-line gamer chairs. Also, cognito-hazard detecting software and augmented reality glasses allow our hackers to safely interact with SCP-3078 without having to use the naked eye. In this way, they are safe by avoiding the meme's laughter-causing anomalous properties. When it comes to busting bad memes, the Foundation hackers are the professionals. Of course, our staff is only able to curtail the number of exposure cases. There seems to be no known way to reverse the erratic laughter that results from seeing an instance of SCP-3078. The only thing worse than a bad viral meme is a bad viral meme that kills like a virus, too. Additionally, because memes tend to be shared in groups and among friends, every instance of SCP-3078 has an indirect knock-on effect that creates a cycle of exposure. While these mass death events caused by SCP-3078 are usually reported as gas leaks or bizarre cult rituals, the truth on the scene is often far more gruesome than one might expect. For example, before SCP-3078 was cleared from the internet, there was a particularly horrifying event that resulted from an instance accidentally being inserted into a slideshow at a company retreat for a major marketing event. The second the image appeared on screen, an entire room full of executives, specialists, and interns burst into an uproar that continued onward with no indication of stopping. Security footage of the event shows many of the business associates trying to calm themselves before looking around and realizing that everyone in the room was also laughing. The contagious fits of laughter did not stop, and things soon became distressing. The instance of SCP-3078 was not on screen for most of the duration of the crowd's laughter, but when it had appeared, the text on the top of the image read, "When you inhale the devil's Mary Jane smoke," a humorous and trendy reference to weed. The bottom of the macro featured a distorted emoji with deep-fried text that read, "Oh no." Using a Wayback Machine on the confiscated laptop that displayed the image revealed that over the course of the laughing outburst, the upper text began to change. 20 minutes after the laughter had begun, the image read, "It wasn't supposed to be on the slide. Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Please stop laughing, everyone." 40 minutes later, the text on the SCP-3078 instance changed to, "No, no, no. Why can't it stop? This isn't normal. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing it. I'm losing it." 1 hour and 35 minutes later, the entire room had completely lost consciousness, and yet the image changed again to read, "It's over. It's over. We can't go on like this. I never should have clicked that link. Ha 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 ha. That meme got me dead, bro." The next and supposedly permanent change caused the text to become the letters X and D next to each other in a text emoji that repeated 34 times across the instance. There were no survivors, and when the authorities arrived in the conference room, they were alarmed to find that the victims of SCP-3078 were still laughing and smiling, even though they had already expired by suffocation. Somehow, the anomalous properties that compelled laughter from those who viewed the cognito hazard persisted after all the air had already left their lungs. Raspy noises of sharp breath forced their way out of the respiratory system and larynx of everyone in the room. Because of the continued laughter of the corpses, medical practitioners were instructed to make attempts to save the patients post-exposure. There was nothing that could be done. And in a grisly image that still haunts the dreams of some Foundation staff, the morgue of the hospital that attempted to care for the SCP-3078 victims was stuffed with bodies that were still laughing, even while in their cold lockers. Amnestics were administered to everyone involved in the mass exposure event, and efforts to wipe out all SCP-3078 images were redoubled. In accordance with the images done, agents of the Foundation were dispatched to track down members of Gamers Against Weed for comment and possible assistance, compelled if necessary. It may not surprise you to hear that many of the GAW-aligned hackers who were caught and contained during these proceedings.
Let's take a look at the Bose Ultra Open earbuds. They wrap around your ear, which means they stay put and keep your ear canals free, which means no more ear fatigue. They allow you to hear both your music and your surroundings. They're not for noise cancellation, and that's by design. Testing out sound leakage now. Turn it up, still no.
Surprise you to hear that many of the GAW-aligned hackers who were caught and contained during these proceedings were pressed into service as conscripted hackers for the Foundation's ongoing web presence. Ever since the year 2017, all known instances of SCP-3078 have been successfully neutralized. Long-term containment is not deemed possible due to the potential of another image being posted at any time. But when such a time does arise, our teams will be ready to delete the instance within the hour to prevent an SCP-3078 counter-event. Of course, in the years since, there was never a direct admission of guilt on the part of Gamers Against Weed, or a promise to cease their activities as a group of interest, but the Foundation has been monitoring the gamers ever since. The The frightening thing about SCP-3078 isn't so much its deadly consequences, but the fact that it can spread so quickly if unattended. The internet is a very big and very strange place, where any number of unusual things can happen. Sure, this cognito hazard was neutralized, but what other mimetic nightmares are lurking in isolated forums that most people who use the internet have never so much as laid eyes upon? In the ocean of data that has existed since the information age, there are dark trenches where anomalies fester and grow stronger, without the supervision of responsible adults. Like the ancient and omnivalent Cthulhu from the cosmic horror works of author H.P. Lovecraft, there are visions of madness that mere normies are not meant to see. The worst of them remain the objects of worship for select groups of withdrawn hermits, many of whom will live their lives in darkness, never endeavoring to feel the light of the sun or place their soft, uncalloused hands upon blades of grass. SCP-3078 may have been detected on the surface of the internet, but only after it spread to major social media platforms. Its discovery and neutralization sets a benchmark for how to handle similar threats, but it would be naive to assume that the next killer meme will be as determined to make us laugh. It bears mentioning that another Gamers Against Weed SCP-5273, is the designation given to a kind of text and image burst that can create irrational anger in those who observe it. If a similar anomaly were to arise that combined the worst elements of SCP-3078 with SCP-5273, there is a possibility that a cognito hazard meme could be created that drives the viewer into a murderous rage. While purely theoretical, the Foundation remains prepared for anything. By their very nature, cognito hazards are weapons against the mind, and because of this, only the truly twisted tend towards creating them or using them consistently. Even an entirely sane creator of a cognito hazard may find themselves corrupted by what they have done, and come to regret ever attempting to change others' minds in the first place. So remember, with or without anomalous properties, memes are serious business, and not to be trifled with. Without a proper understanding of the power of memes, a simple harmless idea can spread on its own, and become an unintended source of mass suffering. Know your memes, fear your memes, respect your memes. Burning neighborhoods, strings of horrific axe murders, a burger joint selling human flesh, and only one question. You mad, bro? Fans of internet memes from the mid-2000s might remember one inescapable image commonly known as Trollface. Trollface and his trademark grin symbolized mischief and generally making the world a more chaotic place. Over time, as is often the case on the internet, new variations on the image began to spring up as users created their own spin on Trollface. At first, it was all relatively harmless, but then again, this is the internet. Nothing online stays harmless forever. Over time, more sinister variations on Trollface began to surface, memes consisting of joke instructions that took a dark, destructive turn. This new spin on the Trollface quickly became known as Trollsure, and often featured disturbing content presented in a joking, prankster format. Still, not something to be too concerned about. Just standard edgy posting, trying to get a reaction by shocking people. Right, not exactly. On December 24th, 2020, in Melbourne, Australia, a college student named Lee Miller received an early Christmas present from her classmate and ex-boyfriend, Peter Whitkins.
Watch live sports with no hidden fees or long-term contracts with YouTube TV. Try it free. Terms apply. Cancel anytime.
Xylophone here with Mario, and it's time for the classic Werewolves versus Vampires. The werewolves in Yugioh, so we can't actually say werewolves. There's not. I'm gonna try to do some big damage and hope.
Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'll show you a horror film, Horror Stories. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a female victim lying on the floor with duct tape on her mouth and hands. Then the victim wakes up from a noise coming from her kidnappers. She looks around the place and sees random creepy things. Her eyes travel around the room, and then she stares at her kidnapper. the victim pleads in a frantic voice. However, the kidnapper remains calm and then threatens her that he will kill her if she doesn't shut up her smelly mouth. Then, the kidnapper tells her that he will let her talk if she keeps her mouth shut. The victim agrees, so the kidnapper takes off the duct tape and frees her hands. Then, the kidnapper writes that he needs to listen to scary stories or else he'll need to taste blood to sleep. Even though confused by the creepy captor, the victim proceeds to tell her first scary story, entitled Don't Answer the Door. It starts with a young boy Moon and his older sister Sunny being dropped off at their houses by their teacher, as it's already night. While back home, Sunny and Moon watch TV as they wait for their mother, who is currently away. After many hours, their mother finally calls and informs them that a delivery man will come to their house to deliver a package. The mother instructs Sunny to tell the delivery man to leave the package at the door, as their father is still in the shower. Also, the mother reminds Sunny to make sure that the delivery man is gone before she takes the package inside. Subsequently, the delivery man finally arrives, and Sunny does precisely what her mother instructed her. Sunny waits for a few seconds before taking the package inside. After that, Sunny calls her mother and informs her that she received the package. The mother asks if Sunny checked the lock, so Sunny returns to the door and sees it slightly open. Sunny attempts to close the door, when suddenly, a man with scars on his face forcefully barges in, which causes Sunny to scream in horror. Sunny immediately takes Moon into a room and locks the door as the man runs after them. However, they see the man's shadow coming outside, so Sunny and Moon leave the room as the man breaks the window to get in. They run towards the door, but the man is suddenly there, so Sunny and Moon can only scream as the man attacks them with a knife. Suddenly, Sunny wakes up and realizes it was all just a nightmare. However, Sunny's imagination plays with her, and she sees a man pretending to be one of their plants. Even though scared, Sunny remains calm and cautiously goes into a room with Moon. They hide in a closet and attempt to call their mother, but fail. Suddenly, they hear the man's footsteps coming towards them, so Moon puts his hands on his mouth while Sunny slowly looks in between the gap of the closet's door. Suddenly, the woman's eyes look directly into Sunny. But then, Moon sees something strange behind Sunny's back, so he turns on the cell phone. Suddenly, the woman's eyes look directly into Sunny. But then, Moon sees something strange behind Sunny's back, so he turns on the cell phone, but a terrifying ghost of a woman horrifies them. Sunny and Moon go down screaming, but when they reach the ground floor, the door fails to open. Meanwhile, the ghost is coming down, so Sunny takes Moon into a room before the ghost catches them. The room is dark, but Moon and Sunny clearly see the ghost inside with them. Sunny hugs Moon tightly as the ghost screams at them. The scene then flashes back to a man in a phone call. The man blames his sister's company for his sister's death. It turns out that the ghost with Sunny and Moon is the man's sister who died because of a fire that happened in the company. The company owner cold-heartedly replies to the man that she does not care about the death of her employees, as the employees are bound to die. Then she ends the call. After that, the police force of the company receives instruction from their superiors to beat the protesters, so they mercilessly attack the defenseless protesters. Following them, while the owner is on the way to her home, she informs her son about a package and instructs him what to do, precisely like Sunny's mother's instructions. The delivery man, who turned out to be the ghost's brother, leaves the package as instructed and waits for the kid to take it before entering. Afterward, the kid pleads with the ghost's brother not to kill him. The man does not want to kill the kid, but he wants to avenge his sister's death. The man looks at the kid crying and pleading before him, while his sister's ghost stands at the kid's back. Then the scene gets back to the victim and the kidnapper. She attempts to convince the kidnapper to free her, but the kidnapper gives her a box full of human teeth. The victim looks at the box, and her face shows disgust, while the kidnapper happily looks at her reaction. Despite that, the victim calms herself and tells the kidnapper another scary story entitled Endless Flight. The tale starts with a stewardess getting into a taxi to get home, but she ends up frantically running in a forest. As she desperately runs, she suddenly trips. She quickly recovers and sees a nearby house, so she attempts to run towards it, but a man suddenly grabs her. The scene then changes with another stewardess, nicknamed Ms. Uniform, in an airport. Ms. Uniform watches the news about a bloody murderer who has killed more than 10 women while he is disguised as a taxi driver. The police have arrested the murderer, and they are escorting him to Seoul immediately. After watching the news, Ms. Uniform gets into the airplane with 2 pilots and another stewardess. Ms. Uniform shares her concerns about being in an aircraft with a murderer who has escaped twice. So the colleagues assure her that everything will be fine because there are 2 police officers on the flight and the murderer is cuffed. The colleagues come up with a 2-knock code they will use if something dangerous happens during the flight. Afterward, the police officers come in escorting the murderer. Suddenly, the murderer sees a ghost of a stewardess he killed, but then it quickly vanishes. Following that, while the 2 officers sit around the murderer sees a sharp object on the floor, so he immediately steps on it to hide it. Moments later, one officer drops on the floor with a stab on his neck, while the murderer chokes the other officer with his cuffs. The officer attempts to free himself, but the serial killer is stronger than him. After releasing himself off the cuffs, the murderer goes to the other stewardess and forcefully shoves a magazine inside her mouth. Meanwhile, Ms. Uniform returns from the cockpit and sees the blood stain on the floor. She quickly opens the curtains, only to see the lifeless body of an officer in the murderer's bloody face. The murderer immediately runs towards her and uses Ms. Uniform to knock on the cockpit's door, but Ms. Uniform uses the 2-knock code, which means danger. As the pilots did not open the door, the murderer tosses Ms. Uniform aside, causing her to lose consciousness. The following moment, the murderer waits for a pilot to look into the peephole. When the pilot finally peeps, he quickly stabs the pilot's eye. The pilot screams in pain, so the other pilot immediately puts the aircraft on autopilot to help his colleague. However, the murderer forcefully attempts to come in, so the pilot struggles to hold the door. Meanwhile, Ms. Uniform finally wakes up and stabs the murderer in the leg. The murderer looks at Ms. Uniform, so she immediately runs away. The murderer focuses on opening the door until he finally succeeds. Following that, Ms. Uniform silently cries as she hides away from the serial killer. She sees one of the police officers still alive, and the police officer informs her that there is a gun in the pocket of the other police officer. While the murderer walks on the aisle, Ms. Uniform cautiously leaves her hiding place and crawls under the seats. However, the murderer is behind her when she gets out of the seats. The murderer chokes her, and the aircraft experiences turbulence. Suddenly, the murderer sees the stewardess ghost looking at him, which causes him to accidentally free Ms. Uniform. The murderer aches his wound, while Ms. Uniform looks for the gun. She realizes that she is too late when she sees the murderer taunt her with the gun. Then the murderer shoots the remaining officer, so Ms. Uniform bravely faces the murderer. She turns off the light, and then hits the murderer with the cart. However, the murderer immediately recovers, but the stewardess ghost suddenly screams right on his face. Meanwhile, Ms. Uniform is behind him with the gun, and when the murderer turns around, Ms. Uniform immediately shoots him. Moments after, Ms. Uniform and the injured pilot control the aircraft, but suddenly, the murderer shoots the pilot. Ms. Uniform screams in horror, while the serial killer smiles at her. The scene then changes back to the victim and the kidnapper. She informs the kidnapper that she is hungry, so the kidnapper prepares a raw liver for her. Suddenly, her phone rings, so the kidnapper confidently gives it to her to talk to her mother. Instead of informing her mother about her situation, the victim lies that she is with a friend doing homework. Then, the victim shares her third scary story about a man who likes younger girls, entitled Secret Recipe. It starts with a frantic woman wearing a fancy white dress. She is desperately trying to find a door. When she finally does, the man slashes her throat. The woman attempts to escape, but the killer just drags her weak body as she is losing blood. The scene then changes to a woman named Beauty, instructing her cosmetic surgeon to hurry up. Following that, Beauty's older stepsister named Pretty prepares herself to meet her future husband, who is rich in cash and hormones, nicknamed Handsome. Pretty expresses her dislike about Beauty to their mother, but the mother reminds Pretty that they are still sisters. Afterward, Pretty and the mother warmly welcome Handsome into their house. The mother calls Beauty, and Beauty joins them wearing the same dress as Pretty. Suddenly, Beauty flirts with Handsome's hormones underneath the table by caressing his smelly thighs, while Handsome tries his best to keep his hot dog calm, hoping his dog can survive the flirt. After dinner, while Handsome and Pretty get intimate, Pretty suddenly notices Beauty peeping their hormones from a hole. So Pretty takes an excuse to leave the room. Later, she angrily threatens Beauty not to creep again. The next day, Handsome's housemaid goes to Pretty's house and gives her a beautiful wedding dress. The housemaid almost gives the wedding ring, but then she sees Beauty creeping out, so she just leaves. Later that night, Pretty's wedding dress suddenly turns into a haunted crimson red, and blood drops from it, which causes a blood flood in the room. Pretty suddenly wakes up and realizes that it's just a dream, but sees that her wedding dress is gone. Meanwhile, Beauty wears Pretty's wedding dress with the mother's help. The mother assures Beauty that she is better than Pretty. Pretty sees them and attempts to take her dress back, but the mother informs Pretty that she cannot go to the wedding because she has no feet. Pretty looks down and screams in horror as her feet are cut off, while Beauty and the mother laugh out loud. Again, Pretty wakes up and realizes that it was all a bad dream. She stands up and attempts to open the window, but it is locked. She then sees her wedding dress gone, so she tries to open the door, but it is locked and blocked by woods outside. Suddenly, Pretty experiences heavy breathing and blurriness of vision until she faints. Meanwhile, the mother proudly presents Beauty to Handsome as a substitute for Pretty, and the mother reasons that Pretty got into an accident. The mother says that Beauty is younger, healthier, and hormone tastes better than Pretty. On the other hand, Pretty wakes up inside a strange room, so she goes out and sees Handsome's housemaid cutting deer meat to make pickles. The housemaid informs Pretty that she saw her unconscious when she returned to give her the wedding ring. Then the housemaid presents the beautiful ring to Pretty, but the maid quickly tosses it into a bucket full of animal meat because Handsome has already married Beauty. However, Pretty gets the ring from the bucket and puts it on her finger. Then she enters his house and finds a secret passageway on the wall. On the other hand, Beauty happily wanders Handsome's own surgical room to keep his young face. Then she sees a bunch of unusual tools for surgery, so she asks Handsome about it, but he just kisses her neck while his hand caresses her sexy body. Beauty savors the pleasure when Handsome suddenly injects a drug on her neck, causing her to lose consciousness. Sometime later, Beauty wakes up with her body strapped to a surgical bed. Handsome sees her awake, immediately cuts her body open, and tastes her blood. Beauty gasps as Handsome enjoys her trembling body and the gushing of her blood. After slashing Beauty's body, Handsome decides to kill her by dropping a big torturing tool onto her body. After that, Handsome prepares Beauty's body as his food. Pretty sees the stomach-turning scene, which causes her to gasp in fear. Handsome hears the noise, but when he looks back, Pretty is already gone, so he leaves Beauty's body and attempts to find Pretty, who is hiding in a room full of wedding dresses. Pretty shakes in fear as she looks at the bloody dresses before her. Handsome comes into the room, almost catching Pretty, but luckily the housemaid calls Handsome upstairs. After Handsome leaves the room, Pretty sees the wedding dress that she was supposed to wear, and she realizes that she could have been dead if she married Handsome. Suddenly, Pretty wakes up and sees the ring on her finger, which means everything is real. The mother informs Pretty that Handsome chose Beauty as her wife. Afterward, the mother opens a gift from Handsome, a jar full of fresh and delicious pickled meat. Pretty looks at the mother, disgusted as she eats the meat, so she informs the mother that she is eating Beauty. Pretty then drops the jar, which causes the meat to scatter on the floor. They see an eyeball, and the mother screams in horror as she realizes that she ate Beauty's meat. Meanwhile, Handsome enjoys eating Beauty's meat with a glass of red wine. The scene then gets back with the victim and the kidnapper. She attempts to eat the raw liver, but ends up vomiting. Suddenly sees a wound on the victim's ear, so he grabs and pinches it, which causes her to scream in pain. Then the victim sees bite marks on the kidnapper's arm, which leads to her last scary story, entitled Ambulance on the Death Zone. It starts in an ambulance with a doctor, a nurse, and a mother with her unconscious child. The ambulance drives away from a horde of zombies, while the doctor and the nurse aid the child. After getting the child's pulse back, the doctor sees a scar on the child's wrist. The doctor believes that it is a bite mark from a zombie, but the mother tells them it is not. However, the doctor is skeptical about the scar, so he tests the child's blood, and the results are negative. The doctor and the nurse argue because the doctor wants to throw the child off the ambulance, but the rest want to help the child and suggest getting the child vaccinated. So the doctor calls the hospital and informs them about their situation. But according to the doctor, the hospital does not have any vaccine anymore, and they refuse to take suspicious survivors. However, the mother and the nurse refuse to believe the doctor, so they attempt to fight him, but he is much stronger than them, and he has a gun. The doctor instructs the driver to stop the ambulance, and he throws off the child. All of them are outside, and the doctor attempts to shoot the child, but the mother fights the doctor. Then, the nurse shoots the doctor, which however attracts a horde of zombies. They immediately get back in the ambulance, but the doctor and the driver get bitten by the zombies. Because of that, the mother expelled the doctor from the ambulance, and she's unaware that the driver has been infected, and they let him in. Afterward, the nurse starts to believe that the child is infected, so she secretly tests the child's blood. However, the nurse fails to see the result because of the tunnel's light, so she instructs the mother to get bandages for the child's wound. The mother lets go of the gun and looks for the bandages, so the nurse slowly reaches for the gun. Meanwhile, the driver gradually becomes a zombie, causing the ambulance to shake. Then, the The mother sees the nurse reaching for the gun, so the two fall into a girly struggle while another horde of zombies attacks the vehicle. Then, the mother accidentally shoots the driver, so she leaves the nurse and drives the ambulance. Right then, the driver fully turns into a zombie and bites the mother. The mother immediately kills the driver, while the nurse attempts to throw the child off the ambulance. But the mother catches her child with a strap and shoots the nurse, causing the nurse to fall off the ambulance. The following day, the mother embraces her child, miraculously wakes up uninfected, but because she was bitten, the mother turns into a zombie in front of her child. The scene then changes back to the kidnapper, falling asleep on the victim's shoulder. She slowly puts the kidnapper on the bed, then frees herself. Afterward, she attempts to leave. However, the kidnapper suddenly wakes up. He puts a knife on her mouth. The kidnapper finally speaks and asks the victim if she is ready to hear his scary stories shown in Daniel CC Movie Channel. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.
Hey, what's up, guys? Today, I'll show you a horror film. Horror Stories, Part 2. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. The film begins with an insurance manager waking up from a nightmare. He calms down after realizing it is just a dream and begins wondering if he made the right decision in hiring a new employee. Just then, the manager hears a scream outside, revealing that it is his new employee named Young. She's being harassed by an insurance payer, threatening to burn down the office if they refuse to give him his money. The manager calmly steps in and removes the man's grip from her. As the man attempts to get his money, Young suddenly blurts out some kind of pleading, begging the man to get her out as it is hot. At that same time, the man's lighter lights by itself, burning him. Fear suddenly strikes the man, prompting him to run his way out. The manager dismisses that and kindly asks Young to go to the storage room with him. There, he reveals that he knows Young is gifted with the ability to communicate with dead people. One proof is what happened earlier. Young pleading to the man was actually from the man's dead wife, who he killed in the fire in order to get her insurance. So to test her abilities, the manager picks out a doubtful case, gives it to Young, and lets her tell him what exactly happened. He believes it is a fabricated scenario, but Young thinks the other way. She then begins explaining what happened to prove her point. It begins with two men, Sung and Wook, who appear to be friends, going on a hike as a kind of tradition after investing some money. They decide to take a picture at the end of the dangerous and high cliff. Wook positions the camera before playfully pushing Sung, causing the rock to crack that is unbeknownst to them. The rock they're standing on cracks into pieces, causing them to fall off the edge as the camera takes the shot. Fortunately, there's a ledge under the cliff, saving them from death and only causing minor injuries. However, their phones are in the backpack, and there's no way to go up or down, meaning they're stuck there until help comes. A chopper comes by, so the two men begin shouting for help, but their attempts are futile. Dehydrated and famished, Sung asks if he can share the Snicker bar with them. However, Wook refuses, as they don't know how long they will be there. That same night, the Snicker bar from Wook's jacket packet suddenly disappears. Wook immediately blames Sung, who points out that it must have fallen when they jumped and shouted at the chopper. Wook removes the rocks behind him on the 5th day since distress, showing the Snicker bar he had hidden from his friend. He sneakily takes a bite and prepares to return it when Sung suddenly talks behind him, asking if he could take a bite too. In shock, Wook accidentally drops the Snicker bar. As Wook explains himself, Sung starts talking into the air, dreaming about his dad. Sung cries as he begs for his dad's forgiveness, prompting Wook to shout at him. Awake, Sung moves over to the edge and points the fallen Snicker bar out to Wook. Sung grips Wook's arm as he reaches for the chocolate bar. As Sung confronts him about the bitten chocolate bar, Wook becomes defensive and accidentally loses grip on his arm. The following day, Wook writes a distress call for help on a bill note using his blood and lets the wind drive it away. That night, Wook attempts to get the Snicker bar by himself, but
GMCC, it's the truck. Get 1.9% APR and select 20.
Wook attempts to get the Snicker bar by himself, but he panics as he sees Sung's body moving up to him. Just then, a rescue helicopter searching for a man finds Wook, but then, when they see him, his eyes are already gray. A few days later, the hospital released Wook, who fortunately was found before death. He receives a box full of their belongings, but Wook calls the police, looking for the bill to keep as a souvenir. Wook believes the SOS on that bill note was the reason he was saved. However, the policeman informs him that the day before they found him, Sung's father fell to death at his construction site. Sung was the one they were looking for. Upon hearing this, Wook Wook stops at the cemetery to pay respect and ask for forgiveness from Sung's father. Wook bows to pay respect, but the picture is suddenly gone as he looks up. Fear strikes Wook as he sees Sung's dad's spirit hanging upside down. He moves his head to the side in fear. Fortunately for him, the spirit is back in the picture frame when he looks back, but his nightmare is far from being done. That night when he's asleep, Wook finds himself on the ledge under the cliff, and Sung rising from the grave, crawling his way up to him. This causes him to run out, only to be shocked again by Sung's brother. Brother informs Wook that a torn body part of Sung was found in the mountains, and the rest of his remains will be cremated tomorrow. Brother then asks to see the pictures they took before they fell off the cliff, so Wook takes the camera. However, upon seeing the pictures, Wook deletes Sung because they show him dragging Sung by the jacket as he slips off the cliff edge, making both of them fall. Nevertheless, Brother is smart to notice that he deleted some of the photos. Wook tries to deny it, but after imagining Sung's ghost in front of him, he eventually confesses the truth. He pleads with Brother not to tell anyone, who agrees with one condition. The following day, they go to the mountain to scatter Sung's ashes so he can rest in peace. As Wook ties his shoelace, he sees the SOS Bill note under the leaves, which he takes. As they reach the edge, Brother hands the urn to Wook, claiming it would be better if he did it. Wook reluctantly takes it and opens it, only to find a Snicker bar inside. Brother then reveals the truth to him. He knew that his brother bought stocks worth $20,000, but not a week later after Sung's death, Wook sold them and kept the money for his own. Wook tries to bribe Brother with the money, but he just smiles before pushing him over. Brother then reveals another shocking truth. The money that Sung used to buy the stocks was stolen from their father, and after learning the truth, their father killed himself. Desperate, Wook lets the distress bill fly into the wind, which reaches the police. However, they ignore it, as they think Wook has already been saved. That night, Sung's ghost terrifies Wook, and no one ever hears from him again. The scene then returns to the manager, who receives a call from his daughter, wanting some junk food. He firmly ignores his daughter's request and disconnects the call. He then gives another case to Young, claiming that the compensation for that case was suspicious. The story begins with a lady in an ambulance being saved by the paramedics. The flashback shows three friends drinking while driving on a highway after failing their teacher certification exam. As they drive recklessly, the inevitable happens, as they fail to avoid an oncoming truck. Jill wakes up with little blood on her head like Mira, while the other friend named Broken Knee injures her left knee. Although alive, none of them had their phones working. Fortunately, Jill remembers the emergency phone box they passed by and thinks they reached it in less than an hour. They help Broken Knee to walk when Jill hears a faint voice behind them. She dismisses it after hearing her friends getting scared. However, as they reach the highway, G hears it again, but this time, the other two also hear it. They ignore it and get moving until they reach the emergency phone box. However, their hopes crashed upon seeing a webbed, non-functioning phone box. Broken Knee breaks into tears and hopelessness, but her friends remain on her side to help her. Not long after, they see the light coming from a house not from afar, so they begin moving again. However, G hears the voice again. This time, it's clearly calling out to her, begging her not to leave. Scared, Broken Knee tells Jid not to leave her alone, which she promises not to do. They ignore the voice and walk again, stopping because of Broken Knee's injury. Mira then sees a man wearing alpine clothing passing by, so she quickly runs after him. However, she loses him, but as she turns her back, she sees the man revealed to be a ghost, watching them. More and more spirits then show up, prompting them to run for their shitty lives. Nevertheless, they get cornered when Broken Knee steps into a foot trap. Fortunately, the spirits vanish as an old man appears, revealing himself as the house's owner. He takes them inside and informs them that there's no electricity and phone. The old man then instructs Mira to come with him when he helps Broken Knee with her injury and firmly instructs Jid to stay inside until morning. Jill lights the shrine while waiting. However, she hears the voice calling out to her again, so she begins wandering the dark hallway to distract herself. She repeatedly calls out to her friends until she finds Ruth's triggering memories of her mother. The first is a child version of herself, crying on the streets while calling out to her mother. The second shows a teenage version of her, looking up at her mother, who ended her life by hanging herself. The painful memories vanish as G hears the old man's voice chanting some kind of prayer. She then follows his voice. Jit cannot hide her shock as she sees her friends tied up, while the old man performs some kind of demonic ritual. They call out for her help, catching the old man's attention, who reveals himself as inhuman. Left with no choice, Jit runs for her life. As she gets out, the house vanishes. Jit continues to run until morning, passing by the cornfield and ignoring the spirits coming after her. As she returns to the highway, Jake hears the siren of the ambulance nearby, so she promptly runs to the site. However, she only sees the paramedics putting broken knee and Mira's bodies into body bags. And the last body found by the police is hers, revealing that they never survived the crash, and all that they experienced from there were not real. Jisung finds herself in the hospital, where she discovers through a mirror that her spirit has left her body. The old man turns out to be the Grim Reaper, and the voice she keeps hearing is actually her poor mother, begging her to hold on to life. But it's already too late. The scene returns to Young, who sees...
6 jets fly as one. When you fly 12 inches apart, every fly is that's the point of magic.
and hold on to life, but it's already too late. The scene returns to Young, who sees black energy coming to the manager after holding his phone. Although she knows something is up, Young doesn't say something to him, who gives her the third and the most mysterious case he knows. The story begins with a trainee teacher nicknamed Nerd, who used to be bullied at school because of his nerdiness. A co-worker warns him about the students and the school. It's full of blackmailing, violence, gambling, bullying, and even students that worship Satan. He advises Teacher Nerd to be aware at all times, as all students are no exemption. Teacher Nerd reluctantly steps into his classroom, only to be tripped by one of his students. This causes a domino effect. He gets his foot stuck in a bucket. When he attempts to take it off, the bucket flies into the air and lands on his head. He steps into his long pants, causing the suspenders to detach, revealing his lower nakedness to the class. The girls silently hold their phones in video and take photos of their professor in the humiliating moment. Left with no dignity, Teacher Nerd goes to the rooftop to kill himself. However, his fear of heights does not help, especially when one of his students, Tan-hee, suddenly appears. She is obsessed with black magic, so she offers him a spell to enter another world. Teacher Nerd doesn't believe. Enter another world. Teacher Nerd doesn't believe her smelly bullshit, but Tan-hee rebuts that her sister's friends are still missing after they tried to...
This chimpanzee went crazy and started yelling when he saw a man's prosthetic leg for the first time. But what happens next is even crazier. The man thought the chimp was yelling out of shock, but it turned out he was just yelling to get his friend's attention. He calls his friend over to come look at the fake leg. He too is astonished. I wonder how they would have reacted if the man took his leg off. This chimpanzee...
Lego seems to be obsessed with Venom. Almost every set nowadays has some kind of Venomized villain in it. From Green Goblin to Spider-Man. However, all these figs are plagued with a massive problem, and that's the cheap Marvel sets don't get good minifigure designs. Sure, the faces usually look amazing, but we get no new molded accessories, and the legs are always completely bad. This is why I think the next Lego collectible minifigure series should be...
Just add me to how much elixir do you call? I don't know.
I was walking along, minding my business, when out of an orange color sky. Finished with my newest invention. Sigh.
Sleeping helps rebuild energy lost during the day. I can't help innovate the field of technology without properly resting my beautiful body. My, look at this ship. It looks so dazzling.
Welcome back. You alright? I don't think you can find a new job. I don't know what to do. Hey, alright, I trust you.
Shoot, really? Nice job, man.
Yeah, you better win. Not enough room in the...
Don't mind me. Just wanted to say a last farewell to my boy before he goes off on a...
Captain, you had to come here last week. How'd your ship already break? Let me guess. A shark bit on?
Huh? Hey, what the hell? I was jamming out. We did. But metal is so much cooler.
Attention, everyone. There is still one more slice plushie left in. Excuse me, Professor. We have a couple more additions that just came in. That should be all of them.
Is it rolling? Okay, good. Greetings and salutations to all. My name is Professor Odd. If you're seeing this message, you have an opportunity to participate in a reality show beyond the cosmos called Planet Hoppers. Oh my! Everybody actually made it! Wait, hold on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How come there are only 6 of you? Good, that's everyone. Well, everyone, you can enter the ship now. Is it rolling? Okay, good.
Oh, sure. Oh, great. Another's.
No problem. Anyways, I'm off work and I'm heading over to the gas station to get us some food. You want anything? Hey, can you turn up the... Yeah! How are you, matey? I didn't say anything about me shit. Bruce didn't overwrite your DNA with his. I did.
How? Why?
Because the world needs a Batman. Not that I always thought so, mind you. Before you were born, Bruce and I were enemies. His Justice League was easily the most powerful force on Earth. As you know, I was in charge of Project Cadmus. Over the years, I came to respect Batman, even trust him.
Guess the law of averages means something.
But you know I was the government liaison with the Justice League for a while. I met some extraordinary people in that job, but none of them were the equal of Batman.
Right. Who could be?
Not my point. I saw him save the day dozens of times, with nothing but his wits, body, and will. But I saw something else as the years passed. He was getting older, slower. Soon he'd have to retire, or more likely, someone would finally manage to kill him. The thought of a world without Batman was unacceptable. So I decided to make a new one. I used my old Cadmus connections to gather the technology necessary for Project Batman Beyond. Bruce's DNA was easy enough to obtain. He left it all over town. Not remotely what I meant. Then I found a young Neo-Gotham couple with psychological profiles nearly identical to those of Bruce's parents. Your father thought he was getting a flu shot. Actually, it was a nanotech solution programmed to rewrite his reproductive material into an exact copy of Bruce Wayne's. A little over a year later, your mother gave birth to you, a child sharing half her genetic material and half Bruce's. But when you're making a Batman, genetics is only part of the story. The rest is tragedy. Stop me if you've heard it before. You're 8 years old. Your parents have just taken you to a rousing adventure film. A grand time is had by all. But unknown to you, a mysterious figure hides in the shadows. My plan was simple. The killer would leap out at you and kill your family. The trauma would put you on the path to becoming Batman. One problem. My assassin wouldn't pull the trigger. I argued with her, but deep down I knew she was right. People say Batman's obsessive, that he'd do anything to achieve his goals.
It's fate.
You know, the Lord's been a great comfort to me all these years. Try not to look so surprised. Yeah, I've got a lot to answer for when I meet him, but I'd like to believe that for all the harm I've caused, I've also done some good. Maybe the angels need a sharp sword too. Like the good book says, he moves in mysterious ways. His plan is a mystery, but here's what isn't. He gave us free will. We choose our own fate, for good or ill. I've known Bruce Wayne for over 50 years.
Fuck you.
Bruce's clone. You're his son. There are similarities, mind you, but more than a few differences, too. You don't quite have his magnificent brain, for instance. You do have his heart, though. And for all that fierce exterior, I've never met anyone who cared as deeply about his fellow man as Bruce Wayne. Except maybe you. You want to have a little better life than the old man's? Take care of the people who love you. Or don't. It's your choice.
Sport at PetSmart, your active dog will be ready for a lifetime of adventures.
Florida, what are you doing? Who are you again? 6969. Tell me about the aliens. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Oklahoma, are you ready to name your cities? Ready as I'll ever be. Let's get started then. Slaughterville. That is a bold start. You think Slaughterville is a little too aggressive? Yes, I think it's way too aggressive. Alright, how about Slap Out? I guess if I had a choice between the two, I'd rather be slapped out, but that's still pretty aggressive. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want a cookie? Actually, yes. Do you have one? I have a whole town. Excuse me. Cookie Town, Oklahoma. Cookie Town sounds great. I'm sure they're very lovely people. But can you please just pick a normal name? Yeah, I can do that. How about Straight? What? Because being straight is pretty normal. Well, when you phrase it like that, it makes it sound like being gay isn't. Oh no, you're right. I can fix this. By not naming a town Straight? No, by naming a different town Gay. This isn't exactly what I meant when I said you should pick a normal name for a city. You just wanted something bland, didn't you? Kinda, yeah. Alright, well, here's the village. What are you gonna name it? The village? Yes, exactly. You're gonna name the village exactly? No, I'm gonna name the village the village. Oh, right. How could I be so silly? That's okay, buddy. I'll keep it simple. Let's keep this moving. I just need you to name a few more cities, Oklahoma. Okay. Are you acknowledging the task at hand, or are you... Please don't tell me. Welcome to OK, Oklahoma. What? Abbreviated. Abbreviated. Okay. And you're fine with that, yo. You see nothing wrong with that. No, great. Keep going. This one will be Midwest City, but you're in the South. Yeah, so to clear up the confusion, I'll name this city Non. So Non and Midwest City, Oklahoma. Right. Together they make Non-Midwest City. That should be simple enough. Right, of course. Nobody will be confused. It's not like I named a town Loco or anything. That feels like foreshadowing. It was. Here's the town. Yeah, I think it's about time we wrap this up. That reminds me of a good name. What? Wrap It Up City or something? Close. Booker. I hate it here. Last one is a good one. It'll be built and prepared for Neil Armstrong on July 20th of 1969. July 20th, 1969?
What are you doing?
Moon, Oklahoma.
Are you implying that we faked the moon landing? I'm not implying anything. But if we did fake it, at least we wouldn't have to lie about the name. We're done. I'll call Mr. Kubrick for you. Don't worry. Hi, I'm Ben, and I love learning. Nerd. And that's why I love Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community full of thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. Which one are today?
Enter another world. Teacher Nerd doesn't believe her smell potion, but Tandy rebuts that her sister's friends are still missing after they tried the spell. The instructions are simple. Get into an elevator and stop by on some floors holding salt water from the south brine in his mouth. A girl will get on the 4th floor, but he must not look at her at all costs. The inhuman girl will press on the 1st floor, but if it goes up, it means he's going to another world. He needs to get out on the 8th floor, and when the girl talks to him, he must not say nor move, and will only spit the brine once the elevator leaves. That day, Teacher Nerd buys salt and water from the south as his mother instructed. Although doubtful, Teacher Nerd takes the brine into his mouth before entering the elevator and performing the ritual. Unexpectedly, a girl indeed enters the lift from the 4th floor, striking fear in him. The inhuman girl presses the 1st floor, causing Teacher Nerd to slide onto the floor in a panic, but impressively holding the brine in his mouth as the spell instructed. As he reaches the 8th floor, Teacher Nerd immediately gets out, but stops after hearing the inhuman girl talking to him. Teacher Nerd keeps still and only lets out of the brine after hearing the elevator leaving. Everything seems normal and unchanged, so he immediately drops the groceries on the table and goes to the bathroom to take a shit. However, he receives a call from his mom, informing him that she will be late as she's at her aunt's. Careful, Teacher Nerd goes to the kitchen and finds a woman, definitely not his mom, chopping their food. With her terrifying and deep voice, she instructs Teacher Nerd to go to his room, which he does without further ado, after realizing that he is indeed in another world. Teacher Nerd finds their family picture with family members looking strange in their white faces, square jaws, lion eyes, and red noses. Still terrified, Teacher Nerd magically contacts Tanny, informs her about what happened, and begs for her help as she's the expert with black magic. Tanny agrees and warns him not to meet the eyes of his otherworldly family, or he will stay there forever. His mom then calls him for dinner, to which he reluctantly obliges. Teacher Nerd tries to survive that dinner, even with all the crazy things happening. His dad reaches for anything with his incredibly long tongue. He discovers that the meat his mom chopped earlier was actually her left arm. He also endures the bowl of maggots and crosses his eyes to avoid meeting their eyes. But that's not all. He also vomits hundreds of maggot eggs on the tables, which his mom claims will be their food for tomorrow. Back in his room, Teacher Nerd calls Tandy again, who instructs him to jump out from the terrace at midnight sharp. But he needs to speak the spell escape while falling. Accidentally, Teacher Nerd discovers his so-called family listening to his conversation. After calming down, Teacher Nerd discovers he can reach the terrace through his bedroom window. That night, he waits for the clock to hit 12 before stepping up on the rail and screaming the spell. However, his dad fixes the clock as it's 5 minutes slow. Tanny reaches for her friend's help, who fortunately know the other way. He finds a pair of scissors before going to the bathroom alone as instructed. They then instruct him to put his pee in his mouth, which he reluctantly does. He then turns the shower on and flushes the toilet hard until blood appears. Blood comes out of the shower too. His so-called mom and dad will try to open the door hard, but he must not open it, or he will die. Teacher Nerd puts his phone in a Ziploc bag as blood comes out everywhere and fills the bathtub. He blocks the door and the toilet before going to the bathtub. Teacher Nerd submerges himself into the literal pool of blood while holding the pee in his mouth. He only comes out a few moments later when he cannot hold his breath anymore. This time, he finds himself in the gates of hell. Even in that place, Teacher Nerd can still magically contact Tan-He, who cannot help but be amazed at what just happened. Tan-He warns him that evil spirits will come. He will finish the nightmare once he pokes his eyes with the scissors while screaming the spell. Tan-He asks for a picture of hell before letting her trainee teacher get on with his business. Feeling confident now, Teacher Nerd takes a photo of hell before poking his eyes with the scissors and screaming the spell. However, one of Tan-He's friends reveals that the particular ritual only works for girls, not boys. The story ends with Teacher Nerd dying in hell, while Tan-He receives a picture of an evil spirit that Teacher Nerd had taken. The scene returns to Young, who keeps seeing the black energy following the manager. Young reveals that she knew he would take advantage of her ability once he proved her ability, so she gives him one last chance to say something to his family, as his time is running out because he is cursed. The manager only believes her when the dark energy pushes him to the evil spirits hiding behind the walls. They are clinging onto his body, slowly dragging him to hell. As he vanishes, a pool of blood comes out of the hallway, along with his phone. The film ends with Young mumbling that she hates doing the afterwork, subtly confessing that this is not the first time she has done this while mopping the blood. This reveals that many others have been dragged to hell after trying to abuse Young's ability for their gain. This Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day. Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a supernatural horror film, Vietnamese horror story. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with a couple paying respect to the guy's late father. Soon after, their two friends arrive to celebrate their first get-together after a decade. As the other guy prepares to burn incense, the power goes out, followed by the loud knocks of their remaining friend. They let him in, as he's been freezing due to the rain. To pass the time by, they decide to tell Joe stories related to urban legends and see which one is scarier. The first story begins with Miss Lamb, a popular 1960s actress. She is adored by anyone. Everywhere she goes, the fans and journalists follow her, and even the owner of the sugarcane juice cart that she drinks paints her face to attract more customers. However, a mysterious man visits her one night. When Miss Land opens the gate, the man throws acid on her gorgeous face. Following that attack, Miss Land disappears from the film industry and fades away from people's memories over the years. However, her legacy still lingers with aspiring actresses like Beauty. The following day, Beauty arrives at the house of Cutie, a well-known and sexy actress who follows Miss Land's footsteps. Apparently, Beauty wants to be Cutie's student on the way to her acting career. Cutie begins by complimenting the women's physical features, and she describes Beauty as beautiful enough not to imitate Miss Land. Later that night, while her boyfriend's asleep, Beauty stares at herself in the mirror when she notices something. She peels off her face when a woman with no skin on her face appears in the mirror and screams at her. But it turns out to be a nightmare for her. The boyfriend calms her down, but without a kiss. The following day, Beauty discovers that her rival has told Cutie about her boyfriend. The confrontation gets interrupted when Cutie receives a call, so Beauty confronts her rival. She claims that Beauty is stealing her career and walks away triumphantly. While Cutie is still on the phone, Beauty sees a woman in a room. When she approaches her, the woman suddenly appears from her side and grabs her neck. Beauty once again wakes up. Beauty apologizes to Cutie for bothering her and promptly gets her things before leaving. Beauty arrives home by taking the Tesla pedicab, but then she realizes that she left her purse at Cutie's place, so she returns to the house to get her purse. However, she notices that Cutie's room is locked, followed by glass breaking and a faint scream. Beauty concerningly calls Cutie, who texts her not to worry and leave. As she returns home, Beauty shares the strange things that she experienced at Cutie's place. She's certain about seeing Miss Land's ghost, with her face burnt by acid. Her boyfriend calms her down, believing that she's just thinking too much. The following day, Beauty cannot hide her shock and happiness when Cutie tells her that she has been chosen and will act with her in an upcoming film. Cutie tells her to move in, as it will be better for Beauty's acting practice. However, there is another favor Cutie asks for Beauty, involving her boyfriend. Beauty Beauty's boyfriend refuses to end their relationship and is mad that Beauty even considers it. Later that day, Cutie shows Beauty her new room and tells her the 2 rules she must follow while living with her. She is forbidden to go upstairs and must not wander around the house late at night alone. Cutie also gives her a bird nest soup and tells her to finish it and go to bed early. Beauty finishes it as instructed. The following day, Beauty sits beside Cutie as they talk to the director, who refuses to film as Beauty is not a well-known actress. So Cutie decides to invest in the film so she can have a say on who will be the actors and actresses. Cutie takes care of Beauty as if she's her child and always caresses Beauty's beautiful face. She also ensures that Beauty drinks the bird nest soup she makes every night. Days later, Beauty is introduced as one of the film's final cast. Beauty shows her gratitude by giving Cutie a bouquet. However, Cutie gives her a paper indicating that the house will be in her name. Beauty refuses it, but Cutie insists that everything that is hers is also Beauty's. Later that night, Beauty receives a message from her boyfriend asking her to pick up the phone, so she reminds him not to contact her anymore, but her boyfriend longs for her. It turns out that Beauty has kept her relationship secret from Cutie to continue her career. Cutie enters the room and discovers the lie. So the following day, Beauty finally ends things with her boyfriend, while Cutie repeatedly slams the bouquet on the bedside table. Later that night, Beauty's boyfriend still contacts her, so she picks up the phone and puts it on the bedside table. Cutie enters the room and gives her the bird nest soup, which she finishes. However, Beauty secretly makes a cup of coffee to finish reading the script. Meanwhile, Cutie murmurs some kind of prayer while staring at herself in the mirror before removing the skin off her face. She puts it in a bowl filled with blood. Beauty then hears a faint scream from upstairs and goes upstairs despite the words being told when Cutie suddenly appears. Beauty wakes up thinking it's a nightmare and realizes she's late for the shooting. She apologizes to Cutie for being late. However, Cutie informs her that the director has rescheduled, so Beauty reads the script to prepare. She notices the dried drop of coffee from last night and realizes that everything is real and not a nightmare. Later that night, 2 men attack Beauty's boyfriend, presumably angry that he was in a relationship with a now famous Beauty. He runs away out to the road, where a truck runs him over. Meanwhile, as Cutie is busy picking something up, Beauty quickly pours the bird nest soup into her bag. So later that night, she sneaks upstairs and witnesses something frightening by looking into the door gaps of Cutie's room. She keeps herself silent and slowly crawls away to leave when Cutie catches her. Beauty wakes up tied in a secret dungeon room where she finds a chained woman with a severely disfigured face. Beauty pleads with Cutie to free her, but Cutie only caresses her face before leaving. It turns out the chained woman reveals that she is the real Cutie, and Miss Land has resorted to black magic because of being depressed with her disfigured face. Just like her, Cutie was also Miss Land's student, and now Beauty is her next target since she needs her face to be changed every 20 years. Miss Land keeps her body young because of black magic. Miss Land calculates everything, including transferring all assets to Beauty's name and demonstrating that Beauty committed suicide because of the pressure. She also practices introducing herself as Beauty in the mirror, imitating Beauty's voice and actions. After that, Miss Land goes to the dungeon and thanks Cutie for her face for the last 20 years. While she removes the face, Beauty removes the ties, frees herself, and attempts to leave the house. But all the doors and windows are locked wherever she goes. Cornered, Beauty unexpectedly scars her beautiful face with a glass shard. This totally angers Miss Land, so she ends Beauty's life by repeatedly stabbing her with the glass shard. Beauty doesn't care anymore and accepts her fate. Soon, Miss Land prepares another innocent, aspiring, beautiful actress, intending to steal her face. Meanwhile, the news of Beauty getting killed while attempting to end Cutie's life is all over the news. The second story begins with a young man named Candy, who sells cotton candy for a living. Candy often shows magic tricks. Meanwhile, Candy's father, named Ty, is in his room paying respect to a pentagon mirror in the middle of his altar. Ty is about to cut his palm when Candy unlocks the door. Later that day, Candy argues with his father about the offerings, as he believes it's nonsense. Ty changes the subject and warns Candy not to promise anything to the children at school and to stop doing magic tricks. Pissed off, Candy wanders outside to calm himself. He runs into the same little girl who has asked for a magic trick. The girl runs away after saying that Candy needs to keep the promises he makes. He loses her, but a noodle vendor tells him the girl will return soon. Candy orders a rice noodle. However, the soup turns dark when something from above drops. He looks up and sees the vendor's headless. As he stumbles from shock and fear, the vendor shows his palm, revealing its eye and mouth. This prompts him to wake up, but then he realizes he's bleeding from his eyes. He attempts to wash it off, but the bleeding will not stop. He runs to his father, and only then does the bleeding stop. Tai only says he has warned him not to promise anything to the children. One night, while searching for his dad in the altar room, Candy finds a wooden luggage full of magic tricks equipment. This prompts the flashback to show a young Tai becoming fascinated and obsessed with magic after seeing a magician doing tricks. However, his dad doesn't support him until he stops his obsession. Tai's mother sides with his dad, but Tai is dedicated to being a magician, so he pursues the career till he grows up. His obsession grows even stronger when he finds the Pentagon mirror with a devil locked inside. Tai is bullied because of the chosen path, but he doesn't care about that and still pursues being a magician. He makes a deal with the devil to create magic tricks people have never seen in exchange for his fame. However, he soon runs out of ideas, and one mistake of accidentally throwing darts in his assistant's eyes forever ruins his career. One day when Candy returns home, he recognizes the old woman's son putting a for sale sign on the apartment. Candy learns from her son that the old woman has been dead for decades, and no one has lived in the apartment since then. But Candy refuses to believe that, and tells him that the woman plays the violin every night at 9 o'clock. She also wears a red dress and holds the violin. He returns home still in disbelief, as the son claims that his mother looked exactly what Candy describes her when she was alive. Overwhelmed by the scary visions he has seen, Candy goes into the altar room and prepares to break the Pentagon mirror, but he suddenly finds himself in a theater. There, he finds his dad seated in the front row with the creepy ghosts. He walks toward them, only to find himself at the edge of the stairs. He climbs upstairs to return home, but he's followed by bloody footsteps, made by an unseen entity. Candy wakes up and realizes that it's a nightmare. Meanwhile, Tai wears his magician uniform while giving his offerings to the demon. But this time, he sacrifices his body and life. The demon moves a knife in the air to take Tai's life, when Candy arrives just in time to save his dad. Candy faces his dad, who tells him he does not exist. Candy looks down and sees a knife plunged into his stomach. The TV screen shows that Tai is actually all alone, and this reveals that Candy is merely an illusion conjured up by Tai to escape his failures and loneliness. The story ends with Tai ending his life after getting tired of living as an old crazy man. The third story begins with a psychic facing her client, a couple. The wife has a deceased sister named Innocent and wants the psychic to find Innocent's remains. The wife then gives her sister's picture to the psychic. Later that day, the psychic shoos away 2 of the neighbor boys playing at her door. Afterward, the psychic wakes up to a faint voice calling out to her, so she investigates her house and finds Innocent's picture on the floor. Suddenly, a headless ghost with a knife plunged into its chest enters her home and runs to her. The psychic wakes up from the nightmare, but then finds Innocent's picture in her hand. So she uses her psychic abilities, and the vision shows her a terrifying place that might be a message from Innocent. Later that day, the psychic checks out the spacious place. It's a field in the countryside full of banana groves surrounded by cemeteries. She uses her psychic abilities while holding Innocent's picture, leading her to a house. There, she encounters an old woman who warns her to stop looking for Innocent's remains, as it might be the end of her. The psychic refuses, as she has promised Innocent's family that she will find her. The night darkens when the psychic leaves the house. A shadow suddenly appears behind her. The psychic runs her psychic body away and stops as she realizes the purpose of her visit. She starts digging to look for Innocent's remains, but someone suddenly chokes her from behind, causing her to lose consciousness. She wakes up as the sun rises and returns home after failing to find her remains. However, she accidentally finds the couple's house, and while there, she encounters Innocent's ghost playing the piano. Psychic tells her to stop, and Innocent suddenly appears at the stairs, so she follows her, leading to the wife. She overhears the wife revealing to the husband that she is dying because of an illness, and her last wish is to find her sister and return them to their parents before she leaves the world. The psychic follows the husband to his house, which reveals to be a few blocks away from her apartment. She dismisses that and walks to her door, when the 2 boys from yesterday welcome her with huge creepy smiles. She also finds a woman's head on the floor, covered with blood. The psychic enters her home in a panic and hides under the sheet until she calms down. Later that night, a headless witch visits her and chokes her while asleep. This prompts the psychic to have a vision of the terrifying place. Bothered and curious by this clue, Psychic investigates the terrifying place, digging the soil until she finds Innocent's remains, including her skull. Suddenly, Innocent's killer appears behind her and slowly kills her with the exact string. While the psychic chokes, the scene reveals that a man abducts Innocent and sexually abuses her before beheading her. This explains why the psychic has been experiencing nightmares of headless spirits and finding herself in Innocent's position to reveal how Innocent died. Innocent then enters the psychic's body as the couple arrives at the same place where Innocent used to play as a child. As the sun slowly rises, the wife sees Innocent's remains and realizes that the psychic has finally found her sister. So the wife performs a ceremony for her and bids goodbye to her sister to finally have peace and closure. It is also revealed that the husband is a psychic himself and knows everything all along, but he doesn't have the guts to reveal the heartbreaking story of Innocent to his partner. While in the psychic's body, Innocent cannot help but shed tears as she finally reunites with her sister and assures her that she will be fine now. The story ends with Innocent finally making peace with her tragic death. Back to the storytelling five friends. The electricity has returned, so they decide to return to their rooms to rest. However, the friend who got wet from the rain decides to watch the television. The film ends with the friend walking strangely to the altar, while the news report reveals that he has actually died from a motorcycle accident on the way to the house. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.
Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror TV series named Fear Itself Selected Episodes. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The first story, titled The Sacrifice, begins in a desolate forest where four criminals drive along a muddy path on the way to a hospital. Due to the uneven road, Lemon starts complaining. Point, who isn't skilled in driving, abandons the well-paved highway and chooses to drive in the wilderness. Beside him, their accomplice seems to be injured, coughing continuously along the bumpy ride. Suddenly, the car gets a flat tire. Point tells Lemon and the coughing man not to wander off. He and his companion, Baldy, get out to investigate. They discover that someone had maliciously scattered nails across the road. Stranded in the wilderness, the four men carry their cargo and the injured coughing man as they continue on foot. As they walk, Lemon worries about the coughing man's health. With the harsh weather and no help in sight, he wonders what they would do if the coughing man died. Eventually, they come across a fort. They never expected to find people living in such a desolate place. Cold and hungry, the four men push open the gate to seek help. Inside the walls, it's like another world. The ground is filled with crosses marking numerous graves. Past the graveyard, there's a 3-story house. Strangely, despite their calls for help, no one responds. The men decide to make themselves at home. As they settle in, the coughing man's condition worsens. Lemon comments on the eerie atmosphere with a radio playing music loudly and sketches covering the walls. Suddenly, the coughing man lets out a cry of pain. The house's owner, a blonde woman, has returned. She introduces herself as Chelsea and her sister Virginia. They explain that they have lived in isolation for years without phones or cars, but they welcome strangers to stay. The sisters bring the coughing man to a medical room with several beds, one of which has a sleeping priest. Lemon explains that they had accidentally hit a tree while driving and a branch had pierced the coughing man's chest. Chelsea skillfully treats him, but it will take time to heal. She suggests that Lemon and Point go eat, assuring them that the
Bakugo and Uraka to be a couple, but they've only interacted once since the sports festival, in a one-shot Horikoshi made for the official Ultra Archive database.
case of ADHD.
I've learned the hard way that you can't.
Well, it's a classic case of ADHD that directly interferes with school.
My attention span is like 15 minutes.
Get up to 6 accounts per household and unlimited DVR space included. With YouTube TV. Try it free. Terms apply. Cancel anytime.
Florida, what are you doing? Who are you again? 6969. Tell me about the aliens. Florida, do you know how to call South Carolina?
Yeah, but I don't want to.
Come on, fine.
Does anybody have any mustard? Barbecue sauce?
How much you need?
I'll give you real money to take that as far away from me as possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how appetizing mustard barbecue sauce. You must be a dude from the mayo? Yeah, it's good. No, I said dude. That's dude. It sounds like you're just saying the same thing twice.
Oh, he is. A dude was a dude. A dude.
Insufferable. Okay, stop. Mustard barbecue sauce is good. Duke's mayo is good. Duke is a college that I hate.
Is there a college that's right?
It really depends who you ask, and you best be careful when you do. Is it really that big of a deal? Is college football a big deal? Does Sweet Tea deserve its own festival?
I don't know.
Yes, and you gave it one thing.
Much else going on.
I didn't think words coming from what would happen if I just turned Myrtle Beach into a whole state.
Dirty Myrtle isn't even in the same league as Daytona.
Okay, stop. I want to hear about these colleges. What are the choices? Some people are Clemson fans. Some people are Pause. Oh, no, they got talent.
Duh, idiot.
We're moving on. You have a Sweet Tea festival? I got about 1,012,000. That's great. What would you recommend someone do if they come visit? Who's asking? Me. Good question. Good question. You should take I-26 to Columbia on a rainy day and spend a couple hours outside trying to count sand. Is that like a really scenic route? Oh, yeah, I can talk about scenes. Florida, what are you doing? Who are you again? 6969. Tell me about the aliens. Florida, can you go Maine for me?
You ever been to Bangor, Maine?
What? No, that's because it's Bangor, Maine. I choose Bang. This is why I don't talk to Flatlanders. Flat? How's it doing squats? I don't think that's what that means. What's it mean then, bub? I'm not really sure. I wouldn't expect someone from away to know. From away. If you're not from here, you must be from... Why do you speak in riddles?
Oh my god, are you a Batman villain?
Batman? No. Got a wicked high amount of king villains, though.
Better than a queen villain, at least.
And what is a queen villain? You know, dynamite with laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Sounds like a wicked killer. I didn't think you'd know enough to make that reference, bub.
That's all we really learned down here. Disney, pop culture, and alligator evasive maneuvers.
We learn moose evasive maneuvers. How do you evade a moose? You move to the side and hide behind trees. How does that work? They have poor peripheral vision, don't turn well. Where'd you come from? He's been here the whole time. You're quiet. I like that. They teach you how to survive hitting a moose in your car? Yep. You know why you can't see them on the road at night? Their eyes don't reflect headlights because they're too tall. What is happening? What are the 4 seasons? Winter, mud, construction, fall. You got any billboards? Nope. What do you say to people who ask for directions? You can't get there from here. Weatherman says 6 inches of snow. How much you prepare for? At least 18. What do you consider short sweater? Anything above 30. What are your beaches made of? Rocks, mostly. How does Canada feel? They call me Little Canada. What's your state bird? The mosquito. You got any wild blueberries? Wild blueberries are a way of life. I might have to start saying lower 47 after this. Don't make no exceptions for me, bub. Fair enough. What just happened?
I think Alaska found his brother bear.
What I'm gathering here is that I didn't need this meeting because I've already talked to Alaska. I'm my own state. What do you have that he doesn't? That lobsters and lighthouses. Settle down there, first page of Google. You know what fiddleheads are? Someone who really likes the Charlie Daniels band. No, it's a vegetable and it's wicked good.
Never heard of her.
You know what moxie is? It means like determination. No, it's a soft drink. A wicked good one, too. Uh-huh. What about red snappers? I actually know this one. It's a fish. No, it's a hot. Okay, now I feel like you're just making this up to be mean. I'm not mean. I'm honest. I bet you don't know what a salmon wiggle is, neither. Well, I know what I want it to be. Enough. We get it. You're different. I didn't even get to talk about Alan's coffee brandy, or Pat's pizza, or Rennie's, or Jacob's ice cream, or Hannaford's, the best grocery store in the country. I promised myself I wasn't gonna talk about Publix today, but I cannot sit here and let you slander it like that. I don't even know what a Publix is, bub. You're about to know what a right hook is. This ought to be wicked pissa. Man, I just called you here to ask how you're handling the vaccine rollout. It's going good. Almost 80% of the pop is vaxxed and over 50% is already boosted. You guys are so lame. How is that lame? There's just a bunch of people up there cold and vaccinated? That's so boring. Listen, bub, we got plenty of fun stuff to do around here. You don't even have Disney. We got Funtown, Splashtown, USA. You have what? It's where the great American family comes to play. So it's not full of Brazilian tour buses? No. Do you even get to go up to camp? I mean, I have to go up to do anything. Going up to camp is... Never mind. What else you got? 65 lighthouses and pictures with the bean boot? I only have one guess about what a bean boot is, and I hope I'm wrong. LL beans. Now I wish I was right. That's much more boring. Yep. That's the way life should be. That sounds a little pretentious, don't you think? More pretentious than calling yourself the Sunshine State, even though Acadia National Park is the first place in America that sees sunlight every day? Acadia kind of sounds like a Cajun. Yeah, that's where we came from, right? From him? Yep. But he's so... And you're so... Take all the time you need. I'll give you two some space. Nope. Nope. Flat? We ain't villain. Batman? No. Batman? No. Got a wicked high amount of... Sounds like a wicked... Melusa Mesa.
Chelsea skillfully treats him, but it will take time to heal. She suggests that Lemon and Point go eat, assuring them that the coughing man is in good hands. Trusting Chelsea, the two men leave. Chelsea stitches up the coughing man's wound, but surprisingly also sews his mouth shut, probably because his mouth smells bad. Too weak to call for help, he can only submit to her whims. In another room, Virginia brings a blanket for Baldy. He can't help but admire her curvy figure and tries to seduce her. So she just...
ました。ルチアーナ、あなたを一人にはしない。仲のいい親子、感動の家族愛ですね。彼女たちは双子の姉妹で、一人が癌になってしまい、その治療。皆さんこんにちは、ジャメ大大ヒロでございます。本日は残念ながら新しいお茶を紹介デビューしてきたいと思います。本日紹介させていただくのはソードの
ご主人さん。
How's it going? Oh, so you're here. this is going to be, we're going to literally give your brain a good washing to rinse it and get rid of all the debris, the muck and the grime from all the mainstream media consumption, okay? Okay, awesome. So it looks like they've already got you all plugged in here from me. It is
Good now.
Are you nervous? Oh, it's okay. This won't be long.
You look like you've had a rough day. Here. Let your pal Flo Rida help you out. You were the rapper. Did you just make a pop culture reference? Let's just get this over with. So, who today? I don't even know. I don't want to talk to anybody from the South or the North. I've got it. I don't think that was enough information for you. Anyone have any Old Bay? Hey, hon, how much you need? That worked? Unlike you, rent's due, by the way. I like him already. Well, he's abrasive like a Northeast state. I mean, yeah, but look what he's wearing. What are you wearing? Pride? And that's a Southern thing. It's so much. You want me to take it off? Yes. No. Take it off. Take it off. Take it off. Why? Show some leg. Not what you see. This is ridiculous. There's only a short list of things I actually care about. Am I on the list? I know. I'm not even on my own list. Am I on that list? Oh, that's good. Oh, and I'm sure whatever's ahead of me on this list is important. It's pretty much the most important things on the planet. Alligators' rights. Excuse me? Don't worry about it. Just do your list. It's really just Old Bay, the state flag, and Merlin crabs. Crabs? The fun ones? Sorry, that was the villages talking. Right. Well, Merlin crab specifically. Is there a difference? Is there? Yes! There are crabs not from Merlin, and then there are Merlin crabs.
It's part one. Bye, guys.
That just sounds like
Bye.
an observation. Oh no.